be out of the office this week, but we're so fortunate to have our former president and CEO, Rick Catlett, filling in for me. And so let's listen to Rick and James talk a little bit about football. But so glad to have Rick back in the chair, and have a great week.
Visit your local Toyota dealers today. Toyota, let's go places.
What's going on, world? It's your boy at Big Game James _36, and I'm not here with Greg McGarity. I'm here with Rick Catlett, former CEO of the TaxSlayer Gator Bowl, and we're presenting to you the TaxSlayer Gator Bowl Drive to Selection presented by Toyota, where each and every week we go over the national landscape, really the SEC and the ACC, the only two conferences that matter, and how it reflects or how it relates to the TaxSlayer Gator Bowl played here in prime time on December 27th in Jacksonville, Florida. What's going on? Nice wet
the
day.
problem is I don't know where Greg is, but I'm just a fan now. I don't have to worry about who we're going to pick and how we're going to pick them. So this is fun.
So how is retirement life for
Retirement's great. We're really enjoying it. Playing a lot of golf and watching college football. I don't have to stay up at midnight and watch some of those games on the West Coast.
Yeah, well,
that really is nice.
It still matters, but it doesn't matter as much. What were your thoughts, again, since you were able to just watch it from a clear perspective of last week's games, and what's something that stood out for you on the ACC side first?
I just, so far, it looks like that they're going to have, for the first time, 3 teams that are going to be really good. I think Florida State is an exceptional team. We saw that against Alabama for sure. I think Clemson is always going to be good because they always have good players. And it looks like Miami may be real with this quarterback. I was always surprised that this portal allows those kind of guys to transfer in. But since he's a Mandarin guy, I'm pulling for him.
Oh, me as well. Definitely Mandarin University, Carson Beck, local guy. That would bring a whole new flavor if we were able to get Miami here in the TaxSlayer Gator Bowl, because we had a first-round draft pick play last year.
That's right.
And Jackson Dart out of Ole Miss. Miami played a cupcake. Florida State played a cupcake, coming off of dominant wins the week before. Clemson struggled, which is something that's kind of different under what we know as Dabo with the kind of the dynasty that he's had over the last 20 years. What are some of your thoughts on that?
Well, Dabo's first bowl game was here in Jacksonville, and it was great to get to know him back then. Now I think he's a little bit different than he was then. It looks like to me that they're very talented, as they always are, across the board. It's just they're not playing together yet. And that's not unusual, as you know, in the first couple of games. So I think the good news about the conferences that we pick from is that we find out something in the next 3 or 4 weeks, because they really do start playing good teams. We had cupcakes this past week. Georgia, you already mentioned Florida State, Miami. But it looks like to me that now we'll know, because now you start the conference schedule. When we picked from the Big 12 and the Big 10, you didn't see their conference games until late October, November. Mm-hmm. So I think we're going to really start getting the next picture. So the next 4 or 5 weeks, you're going to know who's good and who's not. You especially will know that from your background. But I just think that right now you're starting to see the teams that play with physicality are the teams that are going to be sitting there at the end for the playoff. And you got to get to the playoff before you can get to the Gator Bowl pick. And so that's really kind of how I kind of watch it and pay attention to it.
Some other notable games that kind of went down. You did have North Carolina State play Virginia in conference play in the ACC. Very good game. NC State came out on top. You want to make sure you stack your wins in conference so that you can play for what the real goal would be, is a conference championship. Another team that surprised everybody last year was SMU. Came in, battled. They played Baylor. They lost that game, but doesn't have too much bearings as we get into conference play. As you said, we'll see where the cream will rise to the top. Moving over into the SEC, very interesting game as it relates to most of the people who are going to be listening to this, as you're probably a fan of one of the big 3+1. That would be Florida State, Miami, Florida, but then you got Georgia up there in Georgia. But you got a lot of fans this way. Florida playing the University of South Florida. What are the thoughts on Billy Napier and as he's about to get into one hell of a stretch here of playing ranked teams and conference opponents?
Do I have a long time, and do I have to keep it clean?
You don't have to keep it clean. This isn't FCC. Long time, probably not as much. So probably dirtying it up will probably make it shorter.
I think for the first time, he cannot blame the talent on his football team.
Mhm.
He's got some really good talent. Is he a Georgia and Alabama, a Florida State and LSU? No, but he's got really good talent there. And you could see that in blips. I just don't know, as him being an offensive coordinator, that he can get it done. Now, Scott Strickland's in a very tough situation because he's got a big buyout, and it could be a mess down there in Gainesville in the next couple of weeks. And you saw what happened last year at some of the other schools that were having problems on the field. The good news for Florida State last year is that you knew the coach was a good coach.
Mhm.
You knew it was just a situation where the quarterback wasn't that good. I think in Gainesville he has talent, and he's showing a lack of talent. They should have won that football game by at least 2 touchdowns, but they
Definitely.
just didn't push it down the field like they could.
And that's what made me wonder, is Lagway banged up or something? I was actually shouting as again a fan of Mandarin kids, put Tramel Jones, if that's how he's going to play. But I also understand DJ Lagway is a really, really good college quarterback.
Yeah, and with the portal now, James, you have to be so careful the way you deal with your players, because if you piss them off, or if you make their parents mad, they're gone into the portal.
Mm-hmm.
And so sometimes you have to do some things that maybe you wouldn't do. I always thought it was interesting about Texas and Arch Manning, and how everybody talked about how good he was, but Sark wasn't starting him, was he?
No.
And that quarterback at Texas last year was probably a good quarterback, but nothing that, he wasn't great.
Right.
So maybe now we're starting to see why you have to cater some of these kids to keep them around a little bit longer. I will tell you that I really think that Florida has got no chance of being bowl eligible, even though before the season I picked them to play in the Gator Bowl.
Oh, wow. That's a very strong stance early in the season. We'll see when they play next week, this week, upcoming weekend against LSU, if they can bounce back. 2 other big games. One, conference play, Ole Miss versus Kentucky, shows why you can't overlook anybody. It was a very good game. Ole Miss, very good offense. Kentucky, pretty good defense. As far as their coaches go. But the game that really did stand out, and it's good for the SEC in terms of exerting dominance over who's the better conference, Michigan versus Oklahoma. Oklahoma being a team that's kind of not really been like what Texas was since they entered the SEC. But, hey, a big win over Michigan and Bryce Underwood.
Oh, I thought Oklahoma played outstanding. And I think, when you played, it was this way. And then you get later on, it was spread them out, throw it all over the field. Now it's back to being very physical. You're having to play tough games at the line of scrimmage, and you got to have some good skill players, but the line of scrimmage is the key to everything. Mm-hmm. And you're starting to see Oklahoma now do what other SEC teams do. They're starting to win in the trenches. And if you can win in the trenches against people like Michigan, who are good,
trenches.
Oh yeah, then now you got a chance and you got a shot. And our deal, as you know, is we want to get the top teams to get to the playoff, because we're going to get that next level team.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't really care who plays in the playoff or the national championship game. What we care about is, can we get a team to 8, 9, 10 wins, like last year, the Ole Miss team, one step down. And you've got the great players that came in here, and the quarterbacks, and the Gator Bowl is a history of All-Americans and Heisman Trophy winners and Outland Trophy winners that have played in our game, and that's the reason. We're not trying to crown a national championship. We're just trying to bring great players in here for the people of Jacksonville and the people watching television to see.
And players like me. I did get an opportunity
yes,
to score
you did.
a touchdown in this game.
And by the way, you do know that I went to Florida State.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, and you know where I was born?
Where?
Athens, Georgia.
Oh, wow.
And so I'm a Gator.
That's just a
Figure
lot.
that one out.
That's a lot. That's a heck of a equation right there.
There's been 3 times in the history of college football that I would have been sad that all 3 of them lost on the same day.
Oh, wow.
So I'm always happy.
Hometown team, college team, or your or your favorite team, or your alma mater. That's always good. So next week coming up, sticking in the SEC, one big matchup again, big noon kickoff, but SEC style, Wisconsin versus Alabama. You would think be 2 undefeated teams going into this situation, but it should be a very, very physical game. Wisconsin loves to run it. Bama traditionally a little more physical than not, but that's one good game to really be able to watch out for this
We're
upcoming
going to find
weekend.
out if Alabama can get physical.
Well, because you know what Wisconsin's going to do.
You
They're going to line it up. It's not a lot of guessing in that one.
Nope.
Biggest game that could really start to help us with, and also has playoff implications. Georgia, Tennessee. So talk a little bit about your crew, your hometown crew, and in regards to Tennessee, who lost a big time quarterback to the transfer portal to go back to the West Coast, but now is seemingly still on key.
Well, we're going to find out how good Georgia is, and is Gunnar Stockton a really good player, because he's going to have to play great. You saw what Tennessee did last week, even though against a cupcake. Tennessee's going to come to play, and they're going to move the football, and they're going to score some points. And Georgia's been doing well for the last 4 or 5 years with defense. Their offense has been solid. So far, I'm not so sure.
Arkansas, Ole Miss, another
Good
game. It should be a good game. Arkansas seems like they have to fight for their coach's job every year. So this would be a good one right here for him. Also, Florida, LSU. Does Florida bounce back after a disappointing loss?
You know, I think they'll play good. You don't win on Saturday night in Baton Rouge.
It's a tough place to play.
Yeah, it is.
Going to ACC play Thursday night, starting off North Carolina State, Wake Forest. I don't hate those teams per se. I just hate those environments. It feels like Halloween. It feels like Ichabod Crane is going to come out there on a night in the fall, wet, rainy weather. Should just be a good overall game. The one
very important to us.
Yes, very important.
North Carolina's got to start playing good.
And the only game I want to pick out here, really, for the most part, actually outside of 2 games, Clemson, Georgia Tech. Clemson kind of needs to turn it around. Georgia Tech, just Brent Key has those guys playing very well.
They've been hitting you in the mouth for a couple of years now. I remember watching the opening game last year, over in Ireland, and it just, Manetti, they play hard football. And you don't think of Georgia Tech playing that way.
No.
And, boy, they really do now. And Clemson better watch out, right?
Yeah, they could be 1-2 and 0-1 in conference play.
And they're done at that point.
Yeah, for the most, at least
for what they
want for their expectations. The biggest game on the biggest network. This is why you come to the ACC to play right before Gilmore Girls, Charmed, and then the Wayans brother comes on immediately following the 4:30 matchup between the University of South Florida and Miami. Can South Florida continue to have that magic that they've had for 3 straight weeks?
No, because I really think that Miami's got it going. I think I'm looking forward to Florida State Miami this year for the first time in a few years. Remember the old days when Coach Bowden was there? It was always the game, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's back, and I think Florida State Miami are back, and I think that South Florida's a good football team, but they don't have the athletes that Miami and Florida State have, and I think Miami will be ready for them.
All right, well, good slate of games last weekend. Not as deep, but there are some ones that we just really, really should be focusing in on how it relates to the TaxSlayer Gator Bowl played here on December 27th in Jacksonville, Florida. Remember, we want that premium pool on the ACC side of 9 wins. That's what we're looking for. And we're looking for the best quality team in the SEC to be able to bring the best matchup where, as you talked about, Heisman Trophy winners, Outland Trophy winners, All-Americans, and fullbacks have played in this game over the years, making memorable plays. Appreciate you, Rick. Thank you for coming in.
It's great to be with you. I enjoy it,
especially during retirement on this kind of day where you can can't be playing golf, but you can be doing a lot of other different things.
Isn't it? What's that about?
Yeah, that's the beautiful thing about Florida. So for Rick Catlett, I'm at Big Game James _36, and this is the TaxSlayer Gator Bowl Drive to Selection Show presented by Toyota. We will see you guys next week.
Toyota, let's go places.
Welcome back for another Off the Field update. We have been busy in Gator Bowl charities. It's been a busy week, and we're just kind of in that season, which is fun. Yesterday, we got to spend time at ViStar downtown with some of their staff doing a volunteer day where we packed 500 bags of goodies that are going to go to teachers in Northeast Florida next week. I'm not going to tell you which schools yet because it's still a surprise, but there is a school in Duval County, Clay County, and St. Johns County that will be seeing us next week in some of the ViStar team as well, as we're going to come surprise some teachers and give every teacher in that building a goodie bag as our way of just saying thank you. Next week is Extra Yard for Teachers Week, which is a college football playoff initiative, and they just encourage all people that love college football to love on teachers throughout the week. So if your kids have a teacher, if you know teachers in your life, I encourage you to just do something kind for them. It could just be sending them a thank you text, a thank you card, maybe throw in a coffee gift card or a little gift. We would love for you to support teachers, as we will be doing so throughout the week as well. I also want to mention that the Gator Bowl Charities Award of Excellence Scholarship presented by Momentum Transportation is now open for application. So if you know a high school senior student athlete here in Northeast Florida or Southeast Georgia, we would love to have them apply. They can visit TaxSlayerGatorBowl.com to see all of the requirements. And I think that deadline to apply is the beginning of November. So make sure they get it in before then. Our recipients are awarded the scholarship at the game. So it is a fall scholarship, which sometimes people aren't quite thinking about scholarships until the spring. So make sure they visit our website to learn more about that.
And it's merit-based. So it's one of the few, I think, on the First Coast that's merit-based, which makes us a little bit special as well. All right, y'all. Tomorrow is the most fun day of the year, one of the most fun days of the year. It's Dreams Come True 5K day, and I looked before we came down here, and no one, not one of you, has registered to be on our team. So please, look, the weather is perfect. It's a perfect week. The weather's going to be perfect on Saturday to do the 5K with Dreams Come True in support of Dreams Come True. I will run.
I will be there, and I will be either walking or maybe just cheering people on. So if you are not a runner, don't let that scare you.
Yeah, this is not a serious 5K by any means. Certainly the course is beautiful. It's at UNF, but it's a time really to just come and lean into one of our core charity partners. And so we hope it's superhero themed. So I got a shirt. It's just fun. Get to dress up. The kids will be throughout the entrance part at the start line. I think they're throughout the course too. I think there'll be some superheroes along the course. So it certainly makes those 3 miles go quickly. I see a lot of you at 5Ks. And so we're missing some key people. I know some of you already have teams. So I do anticipate some of you will be attending and just not on our team, but please join. I might call some of y'all out later, or you might get some personal text from me, but really let's just show up and support one of our core partners. As Kayla mentioned, next week's Extra Yard for Teachers Week. So you'll be getting some additional information from us because we really, really want you to lean in and love on the teachers in your lives. And I guess we'll see you next week for another episode.